We're back again. The Sports Bag Bros podcast back at you.
On our Wednesday.
Our Wednesday. We own it.
Everybody's Wednesday.
Come to us, get permission, and you can have a Wednesday too, or you can just borrow ours. Either way, out of all the 7 days of the week, today is Wednesday. Tomorrow, obviously Thursday. This is like Sesame Street. We're teaching you the days of the week again. But yo, let's get down to it. The Sports
Can you count podcast. How many times Draymond Green's been suspended in the last 30 days? 1, 2, 3.
Yeah, bring the count in here. Let's see that fake thunder and lightning come out from the sky, man. Come on. And you know we have to start off with that. There's so much still going on at this point in the season. Football going on. Baseball, hot stuff. We talked about Ohtani's big-ass contract. There are a lot of things still going on in sports, even college basketball. Bronny having his first game just a couple of days ago. Still piggybacking off what the Lakers had done, but we're talking about Draymond Green again. What is up with this guy? What should be done about this guy?
What is up with him? Nobody knows. I'm not sure if he even knows. Second question, what should be done? I'm of the opinion he should get at least 12 games. Anything under 10 is weak as hell. You know, I've been saying on past shows, if David Stern was around, he would have dropped the hammer the first time on Ja Morant. They went soft on him. Then he did it again. Then they had to go 25. And is that really harsh for 2 gun violations? I don't know, but hopefully Ja learns his lesson. They went soft on Draymond after he went MMA on Rudy Gobert, 5 games. I mean, that seems like a lot. But for a choking violation, I mean, even Lambert and those guys never put somebody in a guillotine or a triangle. Yeah. So they went soft on him. I don't know if he's ever going to get the message anyway. Losing the finals didn't get to him. Like, I need to control myself more. What is 12 games going to do? What is 15 games going to do? You know, he's so defiant anyway. The last time he's like, I'm Draymond, I'm going to beat Draymond, blah, blah, blah.
That's the problem.
Now he's up there. He knows consequences are coming, so he's trying to lessen the blow. Oh, I was flailing, trying to sell a call. Man, who the hell turns around and throws a right hand trying to sell a call? Because he grabbed you by the hip? So you turn and smack him? Come on, man. I've lost all respect for Draymond. You know, you would think he's straight up 100, keeps it 100. No, he was up there lying his ass off. I don't care what anybody says. He was lying. He did that shit on purpose.
And this is who he is. He's done too many things over the years to let you know this is who he is. 3 suspensions now in about 30 days let you know who Draymond Green is. And he tells you who he is. And he says proudly, I'm going to beat Draymond. And what we know Draymond to be right now is the guy that he was last night. And he's not going to change. So I don't think any amount of suspension. Well, you know what? I think in a certain amount of suspensions, a whole season pinching his pockets, I think he'll be able to do so. He'll understand something then. Because even Ron Artest learned his lesson after what happened with the Malice in the Palace, but he was done for the rest of the season.
Right. I don't know if he can. Nothing compares to the Malice in the Palace. I don't know if he can do the whole season. But it has to be something significant.
But this is constant. This isn't just a one-off. Right. It's like now it's 3 now.
But that's part of the problem when you go soft. When he stomped on Sabonis 1 game, that was soft. You know, he's acting like he's trying to get loose. Man, he stomped on him on purpose. He got 1 game suspension. That was soft. You step on a guy, and then they went soft on the Gobert thing. It's partly the NBA's fault also. You know,
they're enabling him.
Exactly. They've kind of enabled him. It's like, I stomped on a dude. I only got 1 game. I choked a dude. That's only 5 games. I accidentally hit this guy. I shouldn't get. No, it was no accident for one. And his repeat offenses dictate that the punishment gets more severe.
Yeah, the punishment should get more severe, but he's a habitual offender, as we can see. Mm-hmm. So right now it's at 3. We still have we haven't gotten to Christmas yet. The unofficial start of the NBA.
When he just came back from suspension a few games ago. He just came back from suspension a few games ago.
And that's what blows my mind. He was just suspended, just got back, and he supposedly had learned his lesson, or supposedly should have learned his lesson. He got a 5-game suspension, and now we're at the third offense in the 30 days, a lot more of the NBA season to go. So does it get to a certain limit before they say, you know what, just call it a season? I don't think it's going to even get to that point if they let him off easy on this one.
Right. Well, I've been saying they've been done since the Chris Paul trade, but let's go back to Jordan Poole. When Jordan Poole got traded, everyone's like, "Oh, they got rid of the bad apple. They got rid of the bad apple.
Mm-hmm.
He got his money and he changed. His attitude changed. His behavior changed." And that all may be true, but Draymond just got paid.
Yeah.
And now he's getting worse. He keeps getting worse and worse and worse. You know, I could kind of understand the Gobert thing. You want to get him off your guy. You know, unwritten rule is you grab your teammate, not another teammate, because now you're looking for trouble.
Yeah.
All right. But he held on a little too long. He drug him a little too far. Right.
He
was wrong.
doing.
Right. But I understand how it all started. He went way too far. Nobody was messing with him. Nobody was messing with Clay. Nope. Nobody took a cheap shot on Steph. And to piggyback off Keyshawn Johnson, I don't know if you watched any Undisputed.
No, I hadn't.
You know, I can't take, this isn't my take. Keyshawn says, notice who he's doing it to. Sabonis, nice guy. Gobert, nice guy.
He's a bully.
Right, it's a bully. Keyshawn said, why doesn't he do that to Julius Randle?
Let him do it, boy.
Why doesn't he do that to, this is me now, why doesn't he do that to Dylan Brooks?
Dylan Brooks isn't having it.
You know what I'm saying? Why doesn't he try Jokic like that? You know how Jokic got down with
Jokic gets Morris. Back at you. He got ejected himself last night.
Why doesn't he? Right? Why don't he go at the Morris brothers like that? Because he's a bully. I don't know. I'm done with Draymond. I think the Warriors are done. I don't know what else to say, man. Draymond and Nurkic's response was hilarious. Not only did he said the brother needs help, he said, I'm glad he didn't try to choke me.
You know what? Hey, he piggybacking off a previous instance. Right. But man, this is who he is, man. I don't know if you could put more emphasis on it. This is who Draymond Green is. He lets you know who he is, and he says it with a degree of pride. And he's saying pretty much that he's not going to change. We're this deep into the NBA season, which isn't that deep right now, and it's 3 infractions for him. There's going to be more, and when there are more, I think that the whole season needs to be taken from him. You already said the Warriors are pretty much out of it. I saw the disappointment on the players' faces once when I watched the clip. You told me about the clip. So when I watched the clip, I'm looking at what happened initially. I'm like, bro, you serious? But then you look at, you rewind it because you want to watch it over and over. Look at his teammates' face. They're like, man. And they can't say too much of anything, especially in social media world now, and everyone's feelings out there in the open. Man, I was like,
Another thing that tells me he's lying, like he stood there and he looked at Nurkic. He didn't go to, hey, man, I'm sorry. That was, you know what I'm saying?
He knew what he was
doing. And then when he got the boot, he did that wrestling heel runoff like Rodman used to do. Yeah, they put me out there. Whatever, you can't mess with me. I'm Dennis. I'm Draymond. He ran off with attitude. Man, he knew exactly what he did, and he gonna stand up there like a liar. Fuck out of here, man.
Well, so I don't know. Well, Adam Silver, can you rely on him to do something that has teeth this time?
So
he's failed in almost every way when it comes down to giving suspensions for these types of things. Even with Ja Morant getting suspended for the 25 games, I think with a second offense, the way it had happened, and then in light of all of the other things that he had done, we spoke about yesterday how he was talking about the incident with the teenage kid that he had last season. He's not talking about it to brag, but he's bringing it up as a point of reference. But the point is that these things constantly happen, and a gun infraction for the second time only gets 25 games. And I say only because it should be a lot more.
Yeah, probably. That's up for debate. But
But,
you
don't
took me
you?
off and started talking about Ja. I was gonna say something. I can't remember.
But didn't you say that that David Stern would have done even more than 25 games? Okay, I
Oh
think
yeah, David Stern. There's no
the
question.
first infraction would have been 25 games. The
Probably,
second
yeah.
one
David
probably
Stern. He didn't play, man.
exactly. So I think if David Stern would have been here and would have given him 40 games, 50 games, that would have been around what he should have gotten. So
That
yeah,
would have
I
been a
don't think
good
25
deterrent,
games
more
is
than
up for
likely.
debate.
Yeah, that would have been a good deterrent, more than likely. But I
Yeah.
remember what I was going to say. It was reported that the NBA, because normally Joe Dumars would handle this,
Yeah.
but they were discussing it. Like Adam Silver's getting involved. Like, oh, all right, enough is enough. I gotta get involved. So
Yep.
it may be out of Dumars' hands. It might be up to Adam Silver. They may come to a consensus. Who knows? You know, everyone's waiting for the news to drop. How many games? But he's getting suspended.
No, he's getting some games, and he needs to get a lot of games. And I would be surprised. You know what happens if he gets 25 games? Then I'd be like, okay, now I think Adam Silver would be forced to have given him that based on all of the things that are happening. You know, they don't want to look back on the days when the NBA was looked at as a bunch of thugs. They're trying to go as far away from that as possible, and it's trying to morph its way into that. And Draymond Green is the one leading this morph. You know, so and now you have John Morant, now you have him. They don't want to go back to what Gilbert Arenas was doing with the Wizards. They don't want to hear that crap again.
I don't know if he's preparing for an MMA career after basketball, but his last two incidents, a chokehold and a roundhouse.
Come on, let him come to MMA and let him know what a real fight is about. He's going to be in the receiving end.
Pay-per-view next June, because they won't be in the finals. Him versus John Jones.
Yeah, right. Next June, maybe even May, because they'll be gone before then too.
Right.
But either way, man, that's the NBA news as it drops.
You know, Steph's my boy, man. I feel bad for Steph. I said it a couple weeks ago. Free Steph Curry. He ain't going nowhere, but the game was slipping away, I guess, and he was walking to the bench. He kicked the chair. You know, he's visibly frustrated, and you know, I'm pretty sure it wasn't from just being down to the Suns. It was because, man, fucking Draymond's out of here again.
Man, exactly. It has to be that. And they can't respond like that. Like back in the day, you could go in the locker room and say whatever you're going to say or take care of it behind closed doors. But now there's so much social media around. Even when you do things inside the locker room, people are going to know what's going on. I mean, we saw that in the NFL. I think it was Antonio Brown was filming Mike Tomlin once upon a time in the locker room when he was giving his speech inside the locker room. Years ago from Twitter, Charlie Villanueva was making his name doing things in the locker room after halftime. You know, I thought that's when it all started with the social media and players, you know, in areas that seemed or used to be restricted from public use. And now everybody knows what's going on and everybody's afraid to do the wrong thing, especially when you have that image. Steph Curry's image can't be tarnished if he's caught just cursing out Draymond Green. I mean, it's not like Draymond's going to put up with it, but if he just finally had enough and just had to speak up like a man, you know, it's going to hurt the image and all this other stuff that comes with it.
Yeah, but if fans allow that to tarnish his image, they're not living in reality.
How many fans are living in reality these days?
Do you think he doesn't curse? Do you think he doesn't get upset? Exactly. So when you saw it and heard it, what's the big deal?
Yeah, but he's never been looked at as that screaming and shouting kind of guy. And that's probably what it comes
down to. In the 16 finals, he was so frustrated from the bullshit fouls, they're calling him, he fired his mouthpiece into the crowd.
Yeah. But then it comes at the crowd afterwards. Got me to throw it in there afterwards. But yeah, man, this is what we have in the NBA. The first story of the day ends up being Draymond Green.
It's crazy. It's crazy. They're 2 years removed from a championship, and now the wheels have fallen off, if you ask me.
Yeah, because I thought they could kind of reload and get back to business of winning championships or being in serious contention.
You got Steve Kerr last night benching Wiggins, Looney, and Klay Thompson for the younger players. I don't know what's going on, man. And it's Steve Kerr's last year on his contract. We talked about Bob Myers a couple of weeks ago. He probably saw something coming, man. He's like, man,
he got out of it.
I'm out.
Man, there may be something going on behind the scenes, man. Maybe they didn't want Draymond back for real. when he was acting like he wasn't going to be there anyhow. But he's back. He got his $100+ million to come back for those 3 years. I think it is. Is it 3 or 4 years? But
somebody's got to sit him down and say, cut out the bullshit.
But who is that somebody? Joe Dumars would be someone that would say that. I mean, he's respected in the league, even though he's an old school dude. But is it his place to really talk to him about tell a grown man how he should behave?
No, I'm talking about somebody on this team, somebody in this camp.
I can't point out a person. I don't know.
Somebody.
The coach can't say anything, and he's not going to say. A coach like Pop would be able to say something if it was.
Bob Myers might have said something, might have done something.
That's why he's out.
Dunleavy, he ain't doing.
Dunleavy isn't doing anything. I thought he
might hit me like he hit Poole.
Yeah, right. Have a lawsuit to go this time, but yep. Hell, the NBA really hasn't started because the unofficial start like almost every year, Christmas Day. But we get all this news, not just Draymond Green this time, but 2 other times. We get the trifecta before Christmas. And then just the NBA playing great games like they had. And now with this in-season tournament being what it was and the Lakers doing what they've done and came back down to earth, losing the game. But then we can go back a little bit to what's really still dominating in sports, which is football, at least here in America. And the AFC and NFC come out with their players of the week. The NFC has Tommy DeVito. The AFC has Zach Wilson.
Zach Wilson.
What in the bizarre freaking world are we living in right now? Come on.
We talked on Monday how Sunday was a wild day in the NFL. All you can do is tip their hat, man. Tip your hat to those guys. Yeah. They played extremely well. They earned it. They earned it.
You know what? The Jets have 4 games left, and I looked at the teams on there with Cleveland being probably the toughest of the teams, and they're missing their quarterback. If we can get that kind of play from, I'm not expecting it, but if Zach Wilson finally turned the corner for whatever reason it might have been, and everybody kind of got back on the same page, those are 4 winnable games, including the last game in New England against the Patriots, who have their own issues, a whole bunch of them with that. One of them probably with Bill Belichick not coming back. We don't know that yet, but a lot of tumultuous things going on in New England.
Yeah.
Well, the Jets have a real shot of possibly doing something. So, hey, let's see how it happens. And with the Miami Dolphins kind of falling off as they have, and the Buffalo Bills not being who we thought they were with consistency, there may be an opportunity out there.
Yeah. Who knows? But is it asking too much of Zach Wilson to throw for 300 yards again? I mean, you talk about him turning the corner. Maybe if he can put up 250, 260, you know.
The deal is turning the corner
with key first down conversions, though.
Yeah, turning the corner and coming out with a 300+ yard game is one thing. And this is something that kind of lets people know, okay, I can play in this league. If he does the usual 225, and especially this year when we've seen people like Trevor Lawrence, 197, 198, 200, 210, 216, still winning games by large margins because they're supported by a defense that can get after the quarterbacks. And for the Jaguars, Josh Allen, for that reason, the Jets has the defense to be able to do something like that. And if he just puts up 250 yards, 240 yards, cut down on the turnovers, try to establish a running game because you're passing well, that's what the team needs. And this is what they were able to do against the Houston Texans team. I thought we're going to woodshed them up in New York with their rookie quarterback. And it was a legitimate thought because the way C.J. Stroud has been playing, the way Houston had been playing, even though they lost their previous game, but the Jets hadn't done anything to encourage Jets fans or NFL watchers to believe that they should have won that game or should do anything for the rest of the season. Now there's hope, a glimmer, but hope nonetheless.
Yeah, they need to string some drives together during games, right?
Yeah.
Give that defense some rest. And if that defense is rested, they can wreak havoc, get some turnovers, maybe some strip sacks, and help the offense out. But the offense has to help the defense also.
And that's the truth. And I'll tell you another thing as far as just sticking with football right now. Something just comes to me. I've seen it today and just a meme of it or just a little bit of story about it. We talked about Eric Bieniemy just last week and talked about whether he should get a job or not in the NFL as a head coach. And, the whole Washington staff is getting fired after this season. It's just a matter of who lands where. I think Eric Bieniemy has already proven his point of being an offensive coordinator who probably had more to do with the success than he's given credit for in Kansas City. Because right now, the common denominator seems to be him leaving Kansas City and Mahomes not looking ordinary, but definitely not Mahomes-esque, and things aren't going well offensively. Whereas you go to Washington, the Commanders aren't winning games. But look at Sam Howell in his second season coming out of North Carolina. Now he's under Eric Bieniemy, putting up absolutely ridiculous numbers. He's passed for more yards than Mahomes so far this season. Now, granted, he's a second-year player. He didn't play the whole season last season. He got in eventually, but he's played the whole season so far. He's has more passing yards. He's thrown, more interceptions, but not by a lot than Mahomes. He's completing just under 60% of his passes, but you would expect that from a second-year player until he starts getting back on track, unless you're C.J. Stroud. But still, he's putting up those numbers, and nothing's changed there in terms of him putting up the numbers, and he's done it with lesser players. I think Eric Bieniemy was the brains behind it offensively, not just Andy Reid overseeing what he was doing.
Yeah, I just got to say, I think you're coming down on Mahomes a little too hard. It's not his fault.
No, it isn't.
They dropped 33 passes. It was like Tom Brady, his ex-wife said, he can't throw it and catch it. That's the same thing for Mahomes.
It's the truth. But, the difference between last year and now this season, but
it's not because his passes are off.
No, his passes are there. They're dropping the passes. But everyone is going to drop passes eventually. It just happens to be with Mahomes. People seem to drop a lot more passes this year than they've ever done since he's been there. But still, with Howell throwing the ball the way he has, he's thrown it, I think, over 500 times already. But the yardage that he's putting up, and someone else told me about it today. Well, he's also throwing a whole lot of passes, but that's also for a second-year player, more opportunities to pick it off. And the pickoffs aren't coming up, not commensurate with the numbers in which he's passing. Peyton Manning threw the ball a whole lot when he came. We saw the interceptions too. Drew Bledsoe threw the ball a lot, and we saw the interceptions. Wow. Sam Howell isn't getting those interceptions or throwing them.
So you mentioned the entire Washington staff is gone. What if they offer the job to Bieniemy?
Wow. You know what? Offensively, because defense seems to be their issue as they've gotten rid of players.
Well, you traded two defensive
Exactly.
men.
They've gotten rid of some players, the top two defensive players they have, and on the defensive line. So they could offer it to him.
Thank you, because Sweat's playing well.
Yeah, I think that who?
Go ahead.
No, I think that if they offered to Eric Bieniemy, how does that look? You get rid of the entire staff, you keep Bieniemy. He brings in his guys. He has to do.
Who cares how it looks? If he's the only one doing well.
I would like to believe that I'm not the only one who sees this. I'm supposed to be just a layman compared to the people who know how to hire these people and know what they want when they do it. There are a lot of teams out there who are offensively deficient, in which Eric Bieniemy can slip right in. Now, at the same time, we're talking about his ability to make offenses work and his ability to make offenses better with the plays he has, especially a second-year player. But the attitude he has, we talked about that earlier in the season as well, before the season started, when players were going back to ownership or going to the head coach, actually going to Ron Rivera saying, he needs to kind of tone it down a little bit. But
get him off our back, man.
Yeah, get him off our back. So that kind of another story for another day, letting you know what today's players are all about, man. You can't talk to them like
those were the running backs, right?
Running backs?
If I remember, was it running backs or receivers?
I think it was the I wonder if it was the
offense
period.
It wasn't how, and if the quarterback's cool with it, well, then everybody else got to fall in line.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking. And now I think Sam Howell's even more cool with it because he's succeeding with it. It's just that the team isn't succeeding as a whole. But nevertheless, I think there are enough teams out there, and he should have his pick up jobs when these offensively deficient teams need a coach. I think he needs to get the job. I don't think it's a far cry that Eric Bieniemy may have been the brains behind the offense. Mahomes is Mahomes, and I know players are dropping an inordinate amount of passes this season compared to almost anyone in the NFL, but that happens. You still have to overcome it. Over in Washington, Sam Howell doesn't have excellent players to throw to. It's not like they have him over there, but there's still Travis Kelce in Kansas City. He has Curtis Samuel. Not a bad player, but not run the mill either. He has a lot of talent, but
I hear what you're saying. Mahomes has to overcome it, but it's hard when you put the ball in the guy's hands at the 4-yard line. He's open by 3 yards and he drops it.
He drops it. Yeah.
What do you do? It's hard when you hit a guy right in the chest for the first down and he drops it.
And that's true. It's happened so much.
I don't know. Like, I hear what you're saying. I don't see him playing poorly. I don't think his play has dropped. It's just if those guys let's say they only drop 12 balls. That's 21 balls that they catch, right? Yeah. That's probably 3 touchdowns, 7 first downs. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And the numbers are different. The games are different. Especially the week 1, the one that went through Tony's hands for the pick 6.
That guy has a terrible week.
That's a loss. That's a loss right there. They shouldn't have.
Yeah, but I know
he might want to start throwing the ball at their face mask because throwing it to their hands obviously isn't working. I don't know.
Throw it to the face mask and hope it sticks the hole. Yeah. But, he has Travis Kelce, who's been banged up all season but still making plays. But then you look at what happens up there at Washington. They just can't really seem to win when they really need it. But Sam Howell's been slinging that ball, man. He's been putting up some serious yards, getting the touchdowns, throwing a handful of picks based on what he's throwing out there, so it looks good. But he also has that running back, Brian Robinson, not so bad this year, coming back from a gunshot just last year. Come on now. But before his rookie year, he's averaging over 4 yards a carry, so I think that also helps out a bit. With Pacheco injured on and off, he's getting his yards when he's in there, but he's not in there often anymore. But, yeah, Mahomes is having a whole different set of issues because of his receivers outside of Kelce being reliable. Mahomes isn't the one that's really hurting. I think I'm really pointing out how much better Sam Howell is than he probably should be this time, and I think it's really attributed to what Eric Bieniemy has brought to the team and how people looked at it. You heard ad nauseum how it was Andy Reid, because I was one of the guys who was saying it. Mm-hmm. Andy Reid's overseeing it. There's no way he's really that good as an offensive coordinator. He's shutting it all up now. He's doing it up there in Washington. They're not getting the results and the wins and losses. But when you look at the stats that count, the stats that matter, well, outside of wins and losses, his young protege, Sam Howell's getting the job done behind center. Mm-hmm. And just imagine Eric bringing that same energy and things that he might have learned along the way when they did tell coach about him. Maybe he goes to the next job kind of knowing how to deal with people.
Right. And where will his next job be?
Woo,
What if Coach Prime leaves? What if Coach Prime leaves?
You know what? I just can't see if Coach Prime leaves and comes to the NFL.
Wherever he goes, that opens up Colorado.
If Coach Prime did leave, Eric Bieniemy would damn sure be a hell of a coach to have in Colorado. Yeah, I remember his days. Colorado. I don't. With all of these young people watching football these days, I don't think they realize how good a player Eric Bieniemy was when he was at Colorado. Probably short not. Dude, overachiever, I guess, because he was so short. But that guy was stout, powerful, fast. He did everything out there. He did fumble a bit too. Because
I don't think his playing prowess will have anything to do with it. They're like,
no. I'm just saying, being the legend that he is.
But I'm saying he can get recruits because he's coming from the NFL as an top-notch OC. Yeah.
Yep, and knowing what he's doing, because I think there's still so many people out there who don't believe that Deion Sanders knows really what he's doing. And I don't know how they can think that, but I think that seems to be somewhat of a consensus, because when you read some of these comments that people make and they're acting like he's still just brand new to the game of football instead of just being brand new to Division 1A football, they make it seem like this guy never played before. Now he's going to know how it is to play with big dogs. He's played with the biggest of dogs before. So this isn't any different.
Yeah, I don't know. Haters are going to hate.
Yep, haters are going to continue to hate. But yeah, that was an interesting point to bring up with Eric Bieniemy being the guy doing what he's doing up there in Washington. I'm watching it all season because specifically I was interested in it, because I was like, when he goes to Washington, we're going to see for sure if he knows what he's doing. Win or loss, his imprint will be there. Right now, it's looking better than
what you said Eric Bieniemy in Chicago. It's a possibility. Ryan Poles came from Kansas City, so
that's true. You know what? That's true, and it would be interesting to see what he can do with Justin Fields up there. I mean, really. I mean, if he's making that big of a difference, I
Yeah,
watch.
because they're saying Harbaugh's getting a nice extension, so maybe the odds of him leaving have lessened.
Bro, that was all window dressing, them acting like they were upset and all these suspensions that came out. Michigan's just acting like, oh, I'm appalled about what he had done. About how about this extension? We see what you're doing. We want a lot more of this in the future. And
Well, they did pull it off the table, but I guess getting to the playoffs as the number one team changes things.
Yeah, absolutely. And it should because I watched him put this thing together from scratch, man. I remember him at San Diego, the freaking Terriers, before he ended up moving along and ended up in Michigan. But yeah, man, he gets exactly what he deserves. I know people probably don't want to hear, but hey, that's the way things are. Now, do you know anything going on with the recruiting that's going on with the transfer portal and recruiting right now? I mean, I'm just seeing like 4-star players forgetting guys' names because there's just so many out there. You don't know what's coming out of high school, what's coming out of the portal. You just don't know anything these days. They just keep coming and going.
There's just a lot of speculation that I mentioned yesterday that I know of because being a Nebraska fan.
Yeah.
Cord was in town. Fleming, I believe, is in town today. Julian Fleming, wide receiver from Ohio State. There's supposed to be a pair going together, supposedly. And then Dylan Raiola.
Yeah.
He's visiting either this weekend. No, next weekend will be pre-Christmas. So he's probably visiting this weekend. But all the crystal balls are pointing for Nebraska for all these guys, actually.
That's surprising.
Yeah.
I mean, surprising the fact that he's already committed to Georgia. So if he's able to get flipped from Georgia to Nebraska, now the tie-in seems obvious because his father played there. But, looking at the programs and the way kids see things these days, like Arch Manning, why would you want to go to Texas and kind of believe that you were going to get some playing time in your first year when Quentin Ewers is there? He thought that I'm still going to get in there. Well, you hadn't really gotten in there and done anything. And Ewers is still the top quarterback there, and he's the incumbent. Nothing's going to happen unless there's an injury.
Yeah. I don't know what Raiola's thinking, what McCord's thinking. I just know what the analysts are reporting, that the arrow's pointing towards Nebraska for all these guys. But they have another quarterback committed, Daniel Kaelin, and he committed after because Raiola was committed to Nebraska before.
Yeah.
But then he reopened his recruitment, and he committed to Georgia. When he decommitted from Nebraska, Daniel Kaelin decommitted, I think, from Iowa or Missouri, one of those teams, and then he committed to Nebraska. So what's going to happen with that dynamic? Oh, Raiola's coming back now. So now they're saying he's visiting Michigan State. Why did he go to Michigan State with their issues? I have no idea.
I'm serious, man. They're starting from scratch, and people are leaving Michigan State as well. I mean, God,
I don't know, but
Keon Coleman left Michigan State.
Good luck to all those guys.
Yeah, well, Keon Coleman left Michigan State to come to Florida State because what's really going on at Michigan State? I mean, outside of the big season that Mel Tucker did have, I think that 11-2 season, he hadn't done much since then. I still couldn't justify that contract that he eventually had gotten. Ridiculous, but he doesn't have it anymore. But so much going on.
Their quarterback's transferring. He's in the portal. So
yeah, I heard about that too. So
Kaelin may think he has a chance to start as a freshman.
College football, definitely not your daddy's college football of yesteryear. When there was just money under the table. Now the money's out in the open and kids
I read something interesting that Nebraska's the word is they have all the NIL money they need to get McCord and Fleming and Raiola. But one thing they're doing is they're soliciting public funds, like a GoFundMe.
Bruh, get Buck Crawford up in there. He's a Nebraska fan. $50, man. Right? Come on now.
Hey, those are your Huskers. They have no pro team.
You know what I mean?
Go for it. I might throw a couple hundred. Who knows?
Hey, remind me that of years ago when Woody Johnson was about to buy the Jets before he even was going to buy the Jets.
I don't know if you want to give. I don't know if you want to give that to fans though, man, because they're like, man, I paid for you.
They look like Green Bay though. Green Bay does it. Green Bay, the fans own Green Bay, and that's where the idea came from. They had a ownthejets.com. I was one of the people who pledged for ownthejets.com, and Woody Johnson blew us all out the water, man. We had like I guess it could have been looked at as a GoFundMe from way back in the day, the infancy of GoFundMe, more like an escrow account. And he was like, whatever, little kids, go away. I got a few billion here. But yeah, man, I can see, owning the team. Come on now. Green Bay's the only one who's owned by the people. And I think there are other.
I'm not saying they'd own the school or the football team, but some of them would feel like, man, I helped pay for you. You better get your ass off that sideline, get in there and play.
Can't be worse than any of those other boosters out there who probably have their plays shipped down to the sidelines when it matters most and expect it to be used. Nebraska, I mean, that's
giving fans power is a dangerous thing, man.
What?
Giving fans power is a dangerous thing.
Of course it is. They'll think they're puppet masters all of a sudden. The guy who gave $1 thinks he has the same power as the guy who gave 10,000. Bro, my dollar, matters as much as your 10 grand. I can see how they would think that. I mean, it would be delusional, but we're in an age now where delusion is the norm.
So I can't see that. Like you say, you understand. I don't understand.
No, I understand how they would think that based on delusion.
That's what I'm saying. I don't understand.
Based on delusion. I mean, that's part of being delusional.
You gave $1. Come on,
I gave $1. It's just as important as your 10,000. When you're delusional, you're the only one who doesn't know that you're delusional. You're thinking that everything is on the up and up. Everything's quite fine. That's part of being delusional.
I don't understand how they could think like that. That's what I'm saying. I don't get it.
Well, if they're not going to be delusional, look at Florida. Florida State, we still talked about that just yesterday. The Florida Attorney General is now going to investigate the Florida State snub. Well, I mean, I don't know how far it's going to go or how far it can go. I don't think it's going to change anything because they're changing formats next year anyway. Florida State may be in it next year instead of this year.
Right.
But it's still, I think
I'd still like to know what those 5 ACC representatives, what they said in those meetings.
Yeah, you know what? You wanted to go to the Big Ten? You should have. But they're staying in the ACC, and we'll get to see how this turns out. There's been so many, there's been so much litigation or investigations going on in college football just this year. We started off with Northwestern in the spring, and it just got worse and worse, disappeared. But I know things are definitely going on behind the scenes now. And then the Mel Tucker issue came up. And then this issue, the Michigan issue came up. The Big Ten just a cesspool with this kind of stuff this year. Man, but yeah, that's what's going on right now. And back to the NFL. Justin Jefferson has been out for quite some time. Thinks he's ready to play now for the Vikings. But doesn't it really matter? I mean, Josh Dobbs was the quarterback. Nick Mullins coming in to play quarterback now. I think their opportunities, even though they were on a roll for a little while, has slipped away.
Yeah, I don't know if he can be the difference maker that he's used to being. Minnesota's been struggling,
Yeah, everywhere.
The 3-0 game. I don't know why he'd want to come back. I'd be like, yo, coach, man, I'm not ready, coach. No, but seriously, him being a competitor, I can see him wanting to get back on the field, thinking he can make a difference. I'm not sure he can.
You need someone to get the ball to him. Now, Nick Mullins has had his time once upon a time, but I believe it was so long ago. It was like in his rookie year when he was with San Francisco, putting up that fantastic game on Monday night against the Raiders. Hasn't really done much of that in his career. Now he gets a chance to try to do something, getting the starting nod over Dobbs, who was just god-awful over the past 4 games or 3 games, but definitely last Sunday. And so Justin Jefferson walking into the door, expecting to do some big things, expecting the L that probably comes with that as well. But if he gets 150 yards and the L, I think in this age, yeah, he'll be happy, even with the L.
So I just want to address something because our video the other day was entitled Dak is elite or something like that.
Yeah.
My coworker commented and then he talked to me about it today. So this is what I say. And I think I said this either after the podcast. I don't know if I said it on the podcast yesterday. If he's in the top 2, top 3 for MVP, he's elite right now. Now, that doesn't mean he's going to perform in the playoffs. He's used to, he hasn't gotten done in the playoffs. And that doesn't mean he's a top 3 quarterback in the league. But Right now, he is elite because he's in the top 3 conversation, if not top 2.
And he's leading the league right now in touchdowns. I mean, whoever would have thought Dak would be leading the league in touchdowns at this point in the season, but that's what he's doing. And there's no coincidence of the success the Cowboys are having because of him playing like that. I mean, I give Dak credit where credit's due. Definitely not a Dallas Cowboys fan. I've never had a problem with Dak. I just didn't think he was a great elite quarterback, but maybe a little bit of Rich Gannon action, getting a little better as you get older is working out for him. But he had the consistency of being with the Cowboys from the beginning. And now he may see them through to greener pastures, not necessarily a Super Bowl, but unfamiliar territory over the past 20 some odd years.
Right. Even though he's in the conversation for MVP, there's a bunch of quarterbacks, if you ask me, if we're starting franchises right now, that I'd take ahead of him.
Oh, you know what? I don't know if this is a one-off or if he really turned the corner and things can continue to get better, or he can just manage to be the same and just win games. I wouldn't even right now. I still wouldn't take him in the first round. if he was out in the draft.
I'm saying right now, we're just taking quarterbacks.
Just like quarterback.
There's at least maybe 6 or 7 guys I'd take before I start considering him.
Tommy DeVito. Hey, your NFC Offensive Player of the Week.
Then goes Zach Wilson.
He beat Dak out. But yeah, I tell you, I wouldn't take him in the first round right now either. I think he would be one of those consummate value picks like Drew Brees, a second rounder who gave you a Hall of Fame career. Now, if he continues playing like this, there's an opportunity at the Hall of Fame. But right now, of course, not even a fringe Hall of Fame at this moment.
Yeah, and speaking of Hall of Fame, did you see the boxing Hall of Fame class?
Yes. Bro.
That's what I'm saying. Like, come on, man.
Michael Moore deserves it. I think he deserves it. Being the first lefty. For the hellified era of boxing for the heavyweights. That was pretty good.
I can get that one, but rest in peace, Chico. I don't think he has the resume. But like, if these guys are getting in, then my boy Fernando Vargas needs to be in.
You know what? I think Fernando Vargas' career didn't last long enough. That's what I'm thinking. That's the only thing keeping him out. This dude fought everybody.
People are saying, well, we voted him because of his fame. It's the Hall of Fame. He was a big star.
That's how Gotti got in?
Fernando Vargas. Fernando Vargas was twice the fighter.
Bro, you preach it to the choir with this. I always say,
that's what I'm saying. Get my boy in.
Somewhere down the line, he may get in. I mean, he may get in. I think if you wanted to look at it, and you can just look at.
He's in the Nevada Boxing Hall of Fame, but he needs to get in
the International Boxing Hall of Fame. He has sons now that are all fighting. So yeah, Andre the Boxer who comes.
But don't put him in as a trainer. Don't put him in as
I know, right? He'll be in with Freddie Roach and Teddy Atlas. Actually, Teddy Atlas went in there as a commentator, not even as a trainer, didn't he?
I think he's a commentator.
Yeah, sure.
That would be my guess.
But in any event, man. Who do you disagree with? I think, like I said, I think Michael Moore belongs in there because not only because of his heavyweight boxing, but as a light heavyweight, he was absolutely destructive. He destroyed everybody. All KOs as a light heavy, moved up, and got himself a heavyweight championship.
I can see Michael Moore. I agree with that one. But
now Ricky Hatton,
Chico and Ricky Hatton, nah.
I
think they say when certain baseball players don't get in, they'll say it's the Hall of Fame, not the Hall of the Very Good.
Yeah,
that's how I feel about Ricky Hatton.
Well, that's what we have right now, or for a long time with the Boxing Hall of Fame. It's pretty much diluted to where the best of the best aren't in there. Man, I hate saying it, man, because Arturo Gatti was the consummate warrior, blood and guts warrior, as they called him, but his resume does not deserve to be in the Boxing Hall of Fame based on what he had done with his resume. He gave us exciting fights. There's no question about it. That's why we remember him. But his greatest fight was a trilogy against a fellow what Floyd Mayweather would call a C-class fighter, and Mickey Ward. And they put up excellent fights because their styles mesh that well. But if you really want to be realistic, the Blue Horizon in Philadelphia from back in the day had Hammond Eggers doing a lot of the same thing. There just weren't cameras around to watch him do it. You know what I mean? But those two had done it the way they had done it, and they'd done it on HBO, and they were promoted that way. They were marketed that way. And Arturo Gotti, you can't fake having blood and guts. But every time he stepped up in competition, he lost. I mean, does that get you into the Hall of Fame? Now it does. Ricky Hatton, I'm struggling with that. He lost 2 fights just between Floyd Mayweather and Manny Pacquiao, the 2 greatest fighters of their era. So there's nothing to cry about that. But then who else did he beat? Kasha Zhu in his last fight.
Zhu, yeah. That was his claim to fame, man. Yeah. His fans singing while he's getting knocked out, still singing, banging the drum.
Yeah.
Those are fans right there, man. I remember when Floyd knocked him out. They didn't stop singing. They didn't stop banging the drum. There's still only one Ricky Hatton. I'm like, okay.
And they travel from the UK in thousands, man. From the UK to the US, they come in thousands. They come to the weigh-in. Their weigh-ins are bigger than most freaking fights here in the US. But yeah, man. And before we close out tonight, since we're on boxing, allegedly a fight's going to happen in March 9th to be specific, in Riyadh, between finally Deontay Wilder and Anthony Joshua, but they have to get past their foes in this upcoming fight in the next couple of weeks. I mean, Otto Wilder is going to be fighting Joshua, and who's it? Parker is going to be fighting Wilder. So they got to get past that, which I think I'm a little worried about Joshua. I've always been worried about him since the Andy Ruiz fight. I'm always like on the eggshells when this guy fights and thinking that when you look at his chin too tough, things starts getting dizzy.
Yeah, I was going to say this fight would have been better 3-4 years ago, right?
Yep.
But Wilder still can be explosive, and AJ's, I don't know. He has 3 losses now, 4 losses. Hasn't looked very good.
No, he hasn't. He's been looking timid ever since the Ruiz fight.
Yeah, but I expected that in the rematch with Ruiz. I just can't believe that Ruiz thought he was going to come in, land one punch, and win. The fight be over. Like
he almost did in like the 10th round. If things started getting a little glazed out there, I was still worried about Joshua all the way into the latter part of the fight, even with Ruiz being out of
the way he fought. He wasn't applying a lot of pressure. He wasn't getting inside. He wasn't working the body.
He wasn't in shape to do it.
Exactly. But I mean, it could still be a good one. We'll see. But I always said Wilder will knock him out. And
yeah, I think 3 rounds.
Knocks him out this time, it's probably gonna be.
Oh, that's it.
Yeah, like you knocked out Joshua, so did Andy Ruiz, and he hasn't looked very good. So what's the big deal? But they've been yapping back and forth for years, so let them settle it in the ring.
Yep, and the fights that are coming up that I had just mentioned between the opponents that Wilder's going to take on and Anthony Joshua are going to take on, I think the fight that I'm interested in probably more than both of those guys, now that I know this fight is going to take place or the likelihood of it taking place on March 9th, well, Jarrell Miller and Dubois, I think those two are going to put on a good fight. I like to see what's really going to happen in that fight. Does Dubois have a little bit more confidence now after he did what he had done to Usyk? Even though he lost, he still thinks he should have won. He still thinks he got a knockout and was cheated out of it. I think that gives him confidence.
Yeah, I agree.
And Jerome Miller, I never been on his bandwagon to begin with. Bro.
We'll see. Maybe Dubois has more confidence in himself, more belief in himself, and he can lift his game to another level.
Yep, as slow as he is, but hey, he still has that pop, and he can take a few shots. But I'm just thinking that, and Jarrell Miller, wasn't he over 300 pounds in his last fight? Bro, if he's not on roids, he's on food. It's either or. And right now, he's just not doing a good job with trying to keep himself looking like a professional or coming across as a professional. But anyway, we have more than enough time to talk about those fights. And this year may go out with a bang with boxing in 2023 with these final heavyweights. No more Showtime boxing, but we do have Amazon boxing. Jeff Bezos is stepping up to the money being made and money can be given out. Maybe we get some big fights coming up in the future. So, and Ring Magazine came out with their pound for pound list. Bud still at the top, Inoue still at number 2, but Usyk at 3, and then Loma is at 10. I think he belongs there, but I think that Errol Spence should not be on that list. Why is he there?
Where did they have him?
I think they have him at 6 or 7.
Where they have
I
Cheetah.
think it was 6-6 because they do have Tank, they have T.O., T.O., and Devin Haney up there back to back. So
Where they have Cheetah Low.
he number 5.
That's too high.
I think 5, 4 or 5, somewhere around there.
Bevo got to be there.
Bevo's there.
Okay.
Yeah, he's there. But Tyson Fury isn't on there, and he shouldn't be. But if he's not on there because of what just happened against Ngannou,
Usyk shouldn't be on there.
Usyk should be on there. It's just that he belongs a little lower. Well, a lot lower because he's at number 3. I think Errol Spence needs to be off. Loma can stay at number 10 because he did put up a hell of a fight against Haney, and people still think he won that fight. Enough people still think he still won that fight. Haney deserves it because Haney just fights everybody now, and he's looking good while he's doing it. But still, I mean, Errol Spence, there's no reason why he should be on that list. I mean, you lose the way he lost and was dominated. If you're going to throw Fury off the list, you need to throw Errol Spence off the list.
I agree.
So anyways, we'll get a chance to go into Thursday tomorrow, which is our weekend. Okay, now we can reclaim the weekend with that Thursday because that's the end of the show. Thursday, Monday to Thursday for now at least. And then we go into the weekend. College football starts their bowl gaming. Georgia Southern playing Ohio and the Myrtle Beach Bowl. So if you have some tickets to South Carolina, go up there and check out the game, I guess. But anyways.
Yeah, let me just leave everybody with this. Free Steph Curry.
Free Steph. Man, we might be saying that against Draymond Green if he gets locked up for doing what he just did. Come on, press charges. And don't free him. Just keep him in there longer. We hope that Adam Silver has a nice silver platter of penalties for him. We'll find that out in the near future, hopefully. But he's biased. I'm Trav. And the Sports Bag Bros podcast is signing off for another day. Deuces.